Okay, welcome everyone. We are at the GNSI 2020 virtual conference. I think most of you followed us here from the previous lecture. This is a section we have on adaptive practices, and our next speaker is Rachel Basye. She's the executive director of the Art Students League of Denver, which is a nonprofit that is dedicated to making sure that people in the community of all ability levels have access to art and can tap their creativity. She's also a mayoral appointee for the Denver Commission for Cultural Affairs, and she sits on the board of the Colorado Business Committee for the Arts. In addition to all of that, she's also a practicing artist, and so we are very, very honored to have her here today. With all that she has going on. She's going to give us a window into how arts organizations like hers have pivoted in the face of the pandemic, and because they face very difficult decisions, and all of their model is based on in-person learning. So she's going to give us a little window into that, because I think a lot of us have ties to organizations like these. So Rachel, thank you so much for being here with us today, and I will turn it over to you.
Great. Well, thank you all for having me. It's great to be here. I've heard it's been a wonderful conference, and I'm looking forward to sharing a little bit about our experience. So I'm going to share my screen now, and that means I will only be able to see my slides for a minute. So I see all your lovely welcomes in the comment section, and I look forward to perhaps chatting with people a little bit more at the end of the slide deck that I'm going to go through. So as Kathy said, I'm the executive director of the Art Students League of Denver. And in response to COVID-19, we launched a whole series of virtual courses. And I'm going to explain what our process was in making this pivot. So first of all, I think it will be helpful to have a little bit more background on the structure of the Art Students League. We were modeled on the Art Students League of New York, and that means that we're an atelier teaching program. So we are non-accredited. We're not for people who are seeking degrees, but as Kathy said, really for people of any age and any ability who are just interested in working with professional artists in a very hands-on studio environment. So we have 150 faculty members currently on our faculty who teach all types of visual media that you can imagine to all ages and abilities.
Rachel?
Yes.
Rachel, I'm sorry to interrupt. Did you share your screen? We can't see your slideshow.
Oh, no. I'm so sorry. Thank you I thought I did. Hold on. Let's try that again. And we just tested this, so I'm so sorry that didn't work. Now it says I'm screen sharing. Can you see it now?
Yes, we can see it now.
Okay, I'm going to go back to the beginning then quickly here. Okay, so
Beautiful.
There's the first slide. Okay, so we are modeled on the Art Students League of New York as an atelier program, and we have 150 faculty members who, as I was just sharing, teach all types of visual media. They do that in a building that we own. It's a former elementary school in Denver that has 11 art studios set up to provide experiences with all types of media. So we have ceramic studios, fiber arts, printmaking, sculpture, and then general studios, which can be used for drawing, painting, encaustic, jewelry making. We also offer extensive community engagement programs throughout Denver metro area. And that means we're collaborating with libraries, community centers, schools to send professional artists out into community and work with people in all of those settings. And all of that really is hands-on, one-on-one, a lot of interaction time. Through that model, we were able to engage with over 950 students each month. In addition, we had extensive summer camps that engaged with over 1,200 school-age students over 10 weeks. We have a very active teen studio night program that creates an opportunity for teens through a weekly drop-in program, and we interact with 900 teens through that. And then our community programs in libraries and schools, as I mentioned, serve close to between 2,000 and 2,500 people a year. All of that said, 65% of our revenue historically has been from course fees and membership. So it's really what allows us to keep ourselves moving forward. In March of 2020, we were in the middle of our spring session and we had over 200 courses scheduled. Again, all of those were in person and anticipated to take place across the metro area. And on March 16th, due to everything that was happening around COVID-19, we closed indefinitely. What that meant was we furloughed all of our faculty, models, the registration team, and the studio managers. And at the same time, we reduced the hours for our admin team while we regrouped to figure out what to do next. Again, we were also in the midst of, with all of those courses on pause, needing to figure out what we were going to have to refund people for the courses that were no longer taking place. So it really was figuring out our financial situation as well. So we knew we needed to pivot, and the obvious pivot was that we needed to move online. But how? Again, so much of what we do is about working one-on-one with artists and really hearing and watching them in their studio practices. So we spent a lot of time reviewing various types of media that were already available. We also talked with faculty to gauge the interest. The faculty with whom we work, for the most part, had no experience doing any sort of online teaching. And we recognize that that is a slightly different skill set than working with people one-on-one in a truly human setting. At the same time, we also felt like it was important to make sure that our community, our members, our students knew what we were thinking about. And so we created some free opportunities to engage with them right away. And we posted basically very simple videos on our website, and we promoted them through social media, again, just to let people know that we were trying to figure things out and ready to move forward. It took us about 6 weeks to get things going online. We started slow with our paid online courses. We recognized that because we were starting slow, and this was something that we were doing, also the analogy that I've used with my team is we were building a car while we were driving it. So we couldn't always make sure that we had everything perfect all the time. So we had an amazing group of faculty members who were willing to test out different equipment that they might have in their home studios since our building was closed. And we also were able to try some different course formats. And at the end, I'll get into a little bit more information about what we learned through those processes. We decided Zoom was the best platform for us, and we learned a lot about Zoom, again, on the fly. We were really, really fortunate in that we found that one of our models, who happens to be a retired elementary school principal, his wife is actually a virtual trainer for the Colorado Mountain College system. And she has helped them for the past 15 years develop their online instruction program. So she offered to provide Zoom training to all of our faculty, which was just really an amazing opportunity. She covered with them not only the basics of how Zoom works, but also how to think about ways you might structure a course to be successful online versus in person. And then through our first couple of courses, we recognized pretty quickly that we needed to have technical assistance for each one of the online courses. Somebody who could be ensuring that all of the students had the login information, that if any of them had problems with the login information, that technical assistant could be helping them figure that out while the instructor continued to move forward. And also that person can help manage the chat column while the instructor continues to teach. So the result is now here we are in mid-August, and since we started this May 1st, we've held 40 online non-camp courses to 404 people. And at the same time, we were able to convert all of our online camps that we were able to hold. And again, some camps we could no longer hold because they needed to have sewing machines or wheels that we knew we wouldn't be able to do online. But we were able to convert 45 of our camps to an online system, and we engaged with 277 youths through that. One thing that we did that was highly successful is that for those youth courses, we provided prepackaged art kits to ensure that every child had the same supplies and were equally prepared for all of the activities. And we heard from the families that that really helped make those courses successful, and the instructors felt the same way. They knew that parents were not scrambling to find the right kind of marker or paint or a certain type of paper for the course, but had everything in a bag prepared for them. We did do a survey of all of the online courses that we did in June and half of July, and that showed that there was an 85% satisfaction rate with the online experience. So we felt really, really good about that. We also got some great feedback and learned on some things that we need to think about moving forward. So we are currently preparing to reopen for in-person courses September 1st. And that model will include a combination of both online and in person. About, you can see here, about 1/3 of the courses that we'll be offering will be online versus 2/3 in person. This is really going to be helpful in helping us to maintain a solid revenue stream moving forward, because our in-person courses will have a reduced capacity in order to accommodate the social distancing requirements that are mandated in our state. Also, we feel like continuing those online courses will allow us to maintain those connections, both with our existing community, but also with the broadened audience that we've seen come to us since we've launched online courses. And we know that we have a number of people who've been active in our community for years who were not ready yet to come back in person. And so we feel like continuing to offer those online courses is really a great way to help them engage with what we're doing, and not necessarily come to us in person. Okay, so what did we learn for online success, and what are we thinking about for our online courses moving forward? First of all, online courses, for us anyway, feel better with a shorter format. And what I mean by that is that historically, our courses run in 3-hour segments. And so when we converted all of the courses that we already had in the schedule from in-person to online this summer, we kept them in that 3-hour format. And the reality is that's a long time for people to be on Zoom. Even if you give them breaks, it's just really hard for people to feel like they are committed and engaged that whole time. So, and that's for that goes for the instructors as well as the students. So moving forward, we're encouraging instructors to consider designing courses that are 1.5 to 2 hours max per session. And then they can figure out how many sessions they need over the course of several days or several weeks in order to create that same connectivity that they would in an online format. Also, one of the beautiful things about the Atelier method is that it really creates an opportunity for instructors to give a lot of one-on-one feedback to students. That's more difficult in an online setting because everyone is on Zoom together. So if I'm working on my piece, I don't necessarily want to be distracted, or I don't necessarily want other students to hear the feedback that an instructor is giving me personally. So based again on what we've learned from this test over the summer, we now ask all instructors who are teaching online to create a separate time to give students that one-on-one feedback. And those instructors are doing that in a number of different ways. Perhaps they tack on an extra half hour at the end of that 2-hour session, and students can sign up for an allotment of time there to get some feedback. Several of them have also created closed Facebook sites where people can upload their work and then they can give feedback on the site that way. And several of them have chosen to create almost like an office hour time that again is separate and apart from the course time, where students can come in and share their work and get that feedback. But again, our expectation is there will always be built in that structure for students to get that one-on-one time and feedback with instructors, even if it's in an online format. The tech assistance role, again, we've learned this is a really important role, particularly at the beginning of a course. Like I said, we're not sending out any of the Zoom logins until about an hour before the course. We do that because inevitably we've seen students lose emails that we send ahead of time. There's also the possibility for people to be sharing those Zoom logins with others. And then, we just don't want to get into any situations with Zoom bombing or anything like that. So we send it out an hour before, and the tech assistant is then ready and has the Zoom open about half an hour before, so that as people log in, they can help them with any sort of troubleshooting that they might need. They do manage that chat room. If an instructor is, for instance, in the middle of giving a demonstration and there's a couple of hands that go up, that tech assistant can break in and share what some of those questions are to ensure that those questions are getting answered during that demonstration, which we've heard has been, again, really helpful in ensuring that there is some connectivity happening. Also, the tech assistants can help schedule breaks and manage those breaks. And particularly with youth courses, we found this was really, really important. We were doing 3-hour camps with 7-year-olds, and we got a lot of great feedback on them. But part of the reason we think they were successful is because we did build in breaks, and we also built in almost like brain breaks where the kids may still have been in front of the screen, but they were doing something different than their art. And it was the tech assistants who ran some of those brain breaks. So that gave an opportunity for the instructor to have a break. The use of breakout rooms. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Zoom, but breakout rooms are a really great way to create side conversations and give people who might not necessarily feel comfortable speaking in a larger group an opportunity to share their thoughts and ask questions. And having a tech assistant work with the instructors is a great way to utilize those breakout rooms and ensure that people are randomly placed in them and letting people know when they're going to be coming back to the larger group, and also just popping in and making sure that everybody understands what the topic of discussion might be. Some of the more, very much in the weeds tactical types of things that we're still figuring out is whose Zoom account do you use? We had a lot of instructors who, because of what was happening with COVID, had their own Zoom accounts. And at the beginning, when we were doing test runs, some of them offered to use their Zoom accounts. And before we had ramped up our own subscription numbers, we were okay with that. But we realized, again, that made it really hard for us organizationally to manage a schedule and to ensure that all of the students were getting the right information an hour ahead of time. So for us, because the faculty are actually employees of our organization, we decided it just makes more sense for us to own all the Zoom accounts and to share that information out with the faculty and the students, and manage the schedule of those accounts. It takes one more thing off the plate of the faculty and is something that they don't have to worry about. It also puts them all on a level playing field so that if somebody doesn't have a Zoom account, they don't have to feel like they need to get one in order to participate in our online courses. Lastly, recordings. We do record all of the workshops when they're taking place, and we share those out with students the next day after that particular session, but we do not keep those recordings. And that's because we are currently working with a subgroup of our faculty to understand who would have the ownership of that content. We really want to make sure that whatever happens with that ownership is very fair to the faculty. And so again, for all of you who are individual artists out there, think about this. If you're going to be teaching online through an organization, what do you want that ownership structure to be? How do you want to ensure that you're earning some revenue off of what happens to the future of those recordings? I mean, we really look at that organizationally as part of our role, is to ensure that our faculty are well paid and appropriately paid. And so we right now have just agreed that once we send that content out to the students who are in those sessions, we'll keep it for a week after that, and then we'll erase those recordings. Since I made these slides last week, we actually have had some subsequent conversations with some of our faculty about some of the things that they have learned for online success. So there's a couple of the things that I want to share with all of you based on conversations that we're still having very much with our faculty. And one is one of the best ways they've had to learn about how to be successful in online teaching is to attend each other's courses. So we've always had a system where our faculty can take courses through the League at no cost. That's one of the benefits of being an employee of the Art Students League. And that goes for our online courses as well. So we have a lot of our faculty who are sitting in on online courses with other instructors to learn what works, and also, frankly, to see what doesn't work. And both the faculty who are teaching and the ones who are attending have said that has been a great learning experience, because the ones who are attending, if they see something that they can suggest to the faculty member who's teaching, they can do that in a way that really is constructive criticism. So again, for those of you who are considering this, I strongly encourage you to find a way to attend some classes. And in fact, if you want to reach out to us, we would be happy to connect you with some of our faculty who've been teaching online and share some of their experiences. The other thing is ensuring that you have good equipment, that you have cameras that can show a couple of different angles is really important. So we have a number of faculty who originally even were trying to teach on their phones, and that can be successful if it is one of the screens, but if it is the only screen, it's really hard for students to see what's going on in your whole studio. So we're in the midst of actually buying some extra equipment that will include some lavaliers, some iPads, and some different small cameras so that some of our faculty who want to teach from their home studios can check out that equipment and use it to provide that great experience for our students. And that is the end of my presentation.
Rachel, thank you so much. There's so much good information in there. I will pull up Sarah now so she can run the question and answer. And I'm sure there will be a bunch. I can see already there are 8 down in the bin down there. So Sarah's coming up. Okay, super. I'll turn it over to you, Sarah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rachel. Just from looking at how the chat and the question section is heating up, people are really responding to this. And I myself have kind of taking some notes here. This is really helpful and timely. So one of the very good questions we got is asking if you're seeing a wider geographic reach with your online courses than you did with your regular courses, and what potential for new audiences are you discovering with your online courses?
I'll share that has started slowly. Originally, what we saw was that it was expanding across the state. So it seemed like people who were probably already familiar with the Art Students League, but maybe people who came, for instance, to our specialty workshops or our visiting artist workshops, but were not in the metro area regularly participating with us, have now started taking some of those classes that are a weekly format. And then from that, we're seeing that expand as well. So, you know, we do have people who may have taken a class from us in the past, but have since moved to a different state and are still on our mailing list or still get our social media. So slowly, I would say, yes, we are seeing that expand. And again, that's one of the reasons that as we move forward, I think when we started this, we weren't really sure, is this something that we're going to continue doing, or is this just to fill the moment? But now that we have it up and running and we've gotten good response from our faculty and from the students, we envision it will always be a component of what we're doing. So I think as we continue to learn more about how to do it well and we add in different media, we'll continue to have a growth in that geographic reach as well.
That makes a lot of sense. So development that's, I mean, happening kind of exponentially as far as developing the platform and developing how you do what you do and how you gather people online. But it can be incremental, but also a real and building success, it sounds like.
Yes.
So, okay, great. Thank you. This is a practical question that everybody's asking. I mean, you're saying that you're going to have about a third, roughly. I mean, you take special considerations for people who need to continue maintaining physical distance, but that about a third of your coursework will be online. Is that right? And about 2/3. So how will you manage in those in-person spaces? It's a practical question that everybody who's an educator is asking themselves right now. How will you manage it when often art making does entail an instructor working fairly close in contact with students? Or
so
how will you adapt?
What changes are we modifying in our in-person courses?
Indeed. Sorry that I was
okay.
a little roundabout at getting to the point there. Yes.
Yeah. I just want to make sure I'm answering the right question.
Indeed. Yeah.
So that that could be a whole other presentation, and I can give a quick
Indeed.
overview. We actually have been spending the last couple of months with staff back in the building rearranging our studios. So we moved out anywhere from a half to 2/3 of the equipment in each of the studios, and we're reconfiguring the layout of those studios so that there will be social distancing. We're requiring masks at all times. We're creating flows through the building in the way people walk in and out. And we've also staggered our start and end times based on the location of the studios so that we can control that flow of people in and out. We're reducing shared equipment. So like we will still allow sharing of easels and tables and tabourets, and we'll clean those down between each course, but we won't allow, I mean, we used, I think like most art schools, we shared all kinds of supplies. We had brushes and all of that we're not sharing. So it has been a significant thought process around how are we going to make this happen. And we're just in the midst right now of communicating that out to our students. So we actually, our fall registration opens next Tuesday, August 11th. And we've created 2 informational videos that we'll be releasing on social media that will basically walk people through the building on what to expect when they come in and talk about all of these things. We've also created a mailer that's going to all of our 4,700 members and students on what to expect when they come into the building. And yes, and then we'll be bringing all of our faculty in the last half of August to train them on what happens in the studios. Even as instructors, everyone on this, who's participating in your conference is teachers. I think people are really used to getting close to a student and perhaps taking a student's brush or pencil in his or her hand.
Of course. Yes. We've all done it. Yes.
So, So we're really trying to think that through, and but it's going to be a different world. And so I know what we've thought through, and I don't know how it's going to work yet. We're really excited to see how it works, and just glad that people are willing. Everyone has been so incredibly flexible with us and accommodating, and we just hope that spirit continues into the future.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm wondering if maybe we couldn't invite you to come to some follow-up online salon to have a further kind of a discussion and be part of a discussion group about this, because there's so many questions that people are asking right now.
Right.
And just your response is raising more questions for me, that one of the values in having schools like this is that people don't have to invest in expensive brushes or equipment and whatnot. So then what happens, and how accessible is that to them if they need to provide that themselves? Or is there funding to provide supplies that they can keep? And it just raises it keeps opening up further and further more and more questions. So
right. And is there some equipment that we can bleach and put in bleach buckets at the end? I'm also seeing a lot about airflow. Yes, we're doing a lot in airflow.
Yes.
I can tell you right now, it's a huge advantage to have a very old drafty building, because with huge windows, because we plan on opening the windows between all of the classes, and we have an attic fan and a swamp cooler that can run just to pump air through the building. So we're all of those things are considerations. And I would be happy to participate in a salon to share what our experience is once we've actually opened, because I think I'll know a lot more after that.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. Yeah, I'm sitting here in humid Kansas thinking, oh, swamp cooler, we couldn't do that. But we're seeing pictures from the Spanish influenza of these classrooms where kids are sitting all bundled up in a half sleeping bag, and the windows all open so that air circulation could go through. So it's kind of a combination of new things and new answers and adaptations, and then a lot of fairly old-fashioned notions that people have known for years. So, you've got a lot of very specific questions and some kind of big picture questions, and again, some questions about what resources you could share. And so I think it's probably more appropriate rather than put you on the spot in front of everybody to just let you answer these questions, to go in the questions and answers section, the ask a question section. And because there's a lot of specific, a lot of nitty gritty. I can see there's a hunger for having a follow-up conversation with you, actually. So thank you so much for your time. And I think Cappy will be joining us back and kind of cueing us to what's next.
Howdy, yes. Rachel, thank you so much. And what Sarah was alluding to is at the bottom of your screen, you can see the ask a question bin, and there's a little bubble next to it with 11 questions. If you don't mind, what we've been doing with other speakers is you can actually go in after this talk and comment on each of those and just provide an answer, and those will be part of the record of this talk. These talks are available through the end of the month for our registrants. So we're hoping that people will be able to come back and use this as a resource for that, you know, so they didn't have to take such wild notes.
Okay, great. I will do that.
We really appreciate your time. And as Sarah said, obviously this is sparking a lot of good questions for people.
Yeah.
And you've really hit a nerve. So thank you for sharing everything with us. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you all, and good luck to everyone.
Okay.
Yeah.